I don't know. I throw on Patreon, so maybe people want to hear weird banter. I don't know. Hi, few people on Patreon listening to weird banter.
I mean, there's no banter better than weird banter.
That's right. But yeah, well, now that I've hit it, I guess I'll get into it then and start the intro. Maybe the weird banner will be at the end. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast, where we talk about episodes of The Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here on his fantastic microphone and rocking glasses is Henrique Couto. Hello.
Hey, hey.
How's it going? I already asked you, but now you're on the air. Yeah.
But now it's for everybody. I'm doing
Right.
pretty good.
I guess how's it going should be like a wider question. Like, what do you have cooking recently?
Oh man, I wish I had I'm still in that like secret phase on something that's going to release in 2 months. But I will tell you, it is in a similar, ironically, in a similar vein of the Twilight Zone.
Okay. Maybe I
So,
influenced you. I'd like to think I subtly influenced. Honestly, I don't need to do that. I think that comes naturally.
well, no, and speaking of though, legitimately made my day a little bit better sitting down and watching a classic Twilight Zone episode today that I hadn't seen in I'm not sure how long. So that was a fun thrill, especially when I realized I already had Paramount Plus, so I could I could very easily watch that episode.
Yeah. Hey, what kind? I'm just for nerdy tech talk. What kind of definition does that like come in?
Paramount Plus, it looked like it was 1080p. It
Okay.
was very sharp. I mean, obviously it's in black and white. Thought it looked good.
I was watching the new cut of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, it looks okay on streaming, but I'm pretty sure this isn't like fully high def, you know?
It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the bandwidth availability in your area, and like I don't know anything about the internet regulatory elements of Japan
Yeah.
whatsoever. So they may be on a different standard because like out here, um, Paramount Plus is in 1080, Netflix is in 4K, HBO Max is in 4K. They just got the Showtime app into 4K. So most of these guys are hanging at 1080, but then like Tubi is all the hotness right now, and it's mostly streaming at 720.
Uh,
So
anyway, if you or the listener gets into watching that director's edition of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, it doesn't, even if the streaming was a little lower on my end, they've like fully psychedelicized the colors. So
oh,
that's what's important. It's like it looks like 60s Trek now, which you would
there we
never
go.
never would have said for that movie before. So, but it's a different space voyage we're into today. This is People Are Alike All Over. Yeah, this is one where I'm pretty sure I've seen it several times, but it's
Mhm.
been a little while. So,
Well, and it has the classic twist.
oh
Like when I was done, I was like, yeah, it's a Twilight Zone ass twist right there. Like that was
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best one, but this is like definitely like a very quintessential sort of Twilight Zone, I would say.
oh yeah, it's up there with like the Eye of the Beholder, stuff like that, as far as like that classic twist where if you ask somebody what do you think of the Twilight Zone, they may remember one of like 8 twists, and this is one of them that really stands out. And it's not just a twist, it's a like a genre of twist, it's a style of twist where humanity is just flipped on its head basically.
Well, before I get too deeply into it, I'll go ahead and spout out some trivia. The teleplay here is by Rod Serling, but the story is by 50s pulp sci-fi writer Paul W. Fairman. Mark, who's one of my regular co-hosts, apparently he knows someone in Atlanta that's actually this guy's granddaughter, but she didn't actually know
Oh,
him as he died in like
yeah,
1972. So,
yeah, chain
so
smoking was popular back then.
there wasn't that much interest in coming on chatting, and because I just have the relationship, I don't have the knowledge. So I was like, okay, that's fair. Mitchell Lesson, I don't know if I said his name right, but directed the episode, and he's been in his zone before for Escape Clause in the 16 millimeter Shrine, but this is his
Mm.
last time in the Twilight Zone director's chair.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
do I even need to bother talking about Roddy McDowell? Of course, he's
I
Cornelius
mean,
and Caesar from Planet of the Apes,
oh yeah. I was
Cleopatra,
so pumped when he popped up.
the Black Hole. Fright Night. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface here.
Fright Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he stayed legendary until his death in 1998, and is only more of one now.
Oh, absolutely. I just recently rewatched The Class of 1984, and he's absolutely brilliant in that movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it.
I've seen it, but it was way closer to 1984 when I saw it. So
It's worth a revisit, I assure you.
our last
Plus,
one on. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, plus Class of 1999, which isn't really a sequel, has robots.
Oh, right. Well, you got what, 15 years to build the robots. That's enough if you really put your mind to it.
But don't watch Class of 1999 Part 2 unless you're really invested in the series.
What if I like Highlander too?
Then you'll like Class of 1999 Part 2.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
Last on the my little list here today is Susan Oliver is Tina, but the real dorks probably know her better as Avina. While Oliver was working steady on TV in the 60s, she's immortalized as the featured guest star on the OG Star Trek pilot, The Cage.
Yes.
What I learned last night was another fun fact, that she was also an accomplished aviator, coming in as the 4th woman ever to make a solo transatlantic journey.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like when you find out Michael Nesmith's mom invented whiteout. You're just like, wow, that's crazy. or what was it? What? There's one of the screen starlets that turned out to be like a brilliant scientist and like code breaker, which I wish I could remember exactly who that was. Somebody tweet that at me, because it's like a really notable 30s or 40s starlet who had like serious science chops later on.
That's wild.
Let me go ahead and show you the prologue, which I just hit the wrong button to do so, but there's the right button. Okay. You've got it.
I got it.
Okay. Can you tell us what it says?
I sure can. You're looking at a species of flimsy little two-legged animal with extremely small heads, whose name is man. Warren Marcusson, age 35, Samuel A. Conrad, age 31. They're taking a highway into space, man unshackling himself and sending his tiny, groping fingers up into the unknown. Their destination is Mars, and in just a moment, we'll land there with them.
All right. So when did we really start leaving the solar system in science fiction film?
Oh man, I feel like that was one of those things that was loosely tied to nuclear weapons. I feel like we got two big things out of a fear of nuclear war. One of them was space aliens, and the other was radiation monsters. Because both of those kind of raised to prevalence together, sometimes even being combined, where like aliens bring radiation with them that infects humans or kills them or makes them into monsters too. So for me, I've always felt like aliens were like a hefty element of our fear of the Russians. Because their culture is supposed to be alien to us. They're the Soviets, so they sleep upside down and they eat breakfast for dinner and they wear shoes on their hands. We know nothing about them other than that they are different.
You're supposed to precede that by saying, in Soviet Russia, we wear shoes on hands.
In Soviet Russia, you twist the show.
Yes.
But so that's kind of always been my thought about that era of space alien stuff, the era of the flying saucer, the era of all that. I felt like that was a lot of that was about kind of the looming Cold War after World War II ended. I feel like that's because sci-fi starts out as an escapism thing. So now that you're making me think about it, I'm not sure if I don't know if I fully stand by what I just said, because now I'm starting to think
Mars out pretty early.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm starting to think, science fiction is generally an escapism thing. So I feel like maybe science fiction in general kind of came up thanks to World War I and World War II, because people needed desperately escapism. And then maybe the fear of the Russians and the fear of and the desire for isolationism and all this stuff. I think maybe that culminated into aliens later on, thanks to that proliferation of science fiction. That's my my standing theory that is ready to be poked full of holes, but I feel good about it.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt that train of thought because yeah, sure, I'm there's definitely down with a lot of that, but kind of what I was getting at is I've been looking, Twilight Zone, we're on an asteroid in the solar system. My other podcast we just did first spaceship on Venus, we're going to Venus. Even Day There Stood Still, it's insinuated that Klaatu and Gord are coming from Mars. So I'm like, when do we get out of the solar system? Is that Star Trek, Lost in Space, maybe?
I think Lost in Space and followed pretty quickly by Star Trek. I feel like, I see what you're saying. The desire for man to move. I mean, that goes back to Jules Verne, except you just replace what he talked about and make it space.
Yeah, because we just did LG where they're like, it's a corner of the universe. I was actually getting into it. I was like, well, it's clearly an asteroid in the solar system. They're just calling that a corner of a pocket of the universe because our brains just haven't moved past the solar system yet, as far as sci-fi is concerned. Asimov did, Foundation, he's got the whole galaxy at play. So in books, Arthur C. Clarke had some intergalactic stuff going on, but in TV and film it seemed to take a while. Flash Gordon, we're going to Mars again. That's where we're going to find Ming the Merciless, right?
Yeah.
At least in one of the serials.
Well, one of them, yeah. So I mean, but again, then we lead into thoughts about the space race, which encouraged us to think about storytelling that sends us into space and beyond. So I think there was a desire to not just get off the planet, but be the first to leave the planet, and ideally be humble apple pie Americans doing it, because we can't risk our enemies getting to the moon first. That would be hell.
Yeah, and then the past 20 years we've gotten the more insular science fictions where the expanse is just in the solar system. Firefly, it's pretty much suggested that's just in the one solar system. And what's it? Oh, Battlestar, I mean that they have lots of solar systems, but there's no aliens.
Yeah.
So
well, and in Star Trek generally obviously they generally sticks to the Milky Way galaxy.
Right.
Generally speaking, the 4 quadrants of the Milky Way galaxy, not counting any random times Q or some anomaly sends them to a part of space that has never been charted by any living creature, which does happen from time to time.
Well, the most recent Discovery season 4, made it clear that getting through the galactic barrier is a bitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then that's just popping your head a little bit out of the galaxy, right? That's not really, because you pop your head out of the galaxy, you've got quite a bit to go before you reach another one. So
yeah, but that would be a lot of quiet time.
Yes. As for this one though, I guess these guys only have to deal with what is the current idea for Mars voyage? 3 to 4 months if you launch it right.
I think Mars is still on closer to a year side. I think it's about 9 to 10 months.
You might very well be right. Again, it depends on your launch window as well, because orbits get weird. But yeah, these guys weren't in space for deep space mission lengths of time. And did they just send 2 people? Were there 3? Did one die?
No, there were 2. That was the first thought I had. I was like, what mission sends just 2 people? Like, you're one appendicitis away from having space madness, being all alone on a planet. Like, you gotta send at least 4.
One guy just needs to turn on the other, and Marketson is definitely already halfway there.
That was the only part that I was like, really, just 2 of them, like just 2 of them.
Oh, the other one I caught, because we had just caught in LG, and I think another one is that Twilight, in the Twilight Zone, airlocks are for sissies.
Oh yeah, who needs an airlock?
What's out there? Up there goes the door.
One of my favorite things about this episode is the very cheesy interior spaceship set.
Yeah, it's all the Forbidden Planet stuff stuck in there still. That's clear. I love just you could just start counting how often things from Forbidden Planet show up in the Twilight Zone.
And I just love, like, at one point he lifts a chair up to get it away from his friend who's been injured in the crash, and the chair is just like a chair from like a school classroom or something that's been sprayed probably gray or silver. I mean, we can't tell, it's black and white, but like it's just so fun. As I look at it, I'm just like, wow, they just grabbed some chairs and went, this is a space rocket.
Well, make sure the chair is bolted down, I guess, first.
Oh yeah. Well, clearly that didn't do them any good because their crash landing didn't go so
Yeah.
so smoothly.
Now, of the two people, Conrad's a scientist, right? Marcus is the pilot, Conrad is the scientist. And I thought
Yes.
that was interesting because in the Apollo missions, they didn't bother sending a scientist until the last one.
Huh.
It was
Well,
it
I
was
guess
all test pilots and stuff until the last one. They're like, hey, we should probably send a geologist before we wrap this
well,
up.
they're probably worried about the physical complications of space travel. Because for the longest time, it was like, just severe G's and clot worries and spinning you in a centrifuge so that if high G's will kill you, you die on Earth and not in space.
Well, with the Apollo setup, you have to teach the scientists how to land the lunar lander too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that could
So
be a bit of a challenge,
yeah,
when at least pilots can take photographs and write notes. Like
I
they already
remember
know how to do that.
I remember trying the space. I didn't actually go to the space camp. I went to Huntsville where that you could try out the try to land the lunar lander, and of course, in the fourth grade, everyone dies. Right? No one can land the thing.
But imagine if you had landed it perfectly in one
Yeah.
try, what your life would have been instead of what it is today.
Yeah, but Marcus and he didn't manage it, did he?
No, he turned out to be a piss poor pilot.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, risking a lot of tetanus. When they crash, yeah, and before
Yeah.
launch. Oh, that was the thing. They're at that like rusted fence, like watching the ship. Like, we're going up there in 2 hours. Like, why are you on a rusty fence?
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like they're standing just watching the ship, saying like we're leaving in 2 hours. All I'm thinking is like I feel like there's prep to be done. I feel like you need to like take some kind of stomach medicine or like be getting your vitals run. But this is in the olden days when they just shot you up into space and they're like, you'll have a good time. They'd be like, listen, only one carton of cigarettes in space, boys. Well, we gotta be reasonable,
I do like when they get to Mars. It still has canals. I mean,
Yeah.
love the Martian canals.
Of course.
Who knows if we look close enough, maybe we'll find they're really there. Yeah.
So, what was your thought when you first met the Martians? When the door first opens and you see all these like blonde-headed people in like quasi togas?
Mark of Gideon from Star Trek.
Okay, yeah.
Where they've built this fake Enterprise for him, and he keeps hearing weird noises. Finally opens one of the portholes. There's a bunch of people standing outside because their planet is so crowded. Which doesn't make any sense. And why did they build him a giant Enterprise if their planet's so crowded?
Sometimes hindsight's 2020.
Great episode. It's just a really dumb one.
Well, I mean, some of the best ones are a little on the stupid side.
Yeah. But yeah, we got this, of course, with the Trek, we got the same alien seductors. But sorry, I think I derailed. I gave my answer. I feel like you must have a different one then.
Oh, well, I found it interesting because rewatching it and not fully remembering what happens in the episode, really, there's that moment when his buddy, before his buddy dies, where he tells him like people are all alike, basically. Basically what the title was, which I'm forgetting. I'm butchering right now, but it's like they are all alike, or what was
people
it?
are alike all over.
People are alike all over. That's what it was.
That's
he basically
the benefit of having your notes page next to the Zoom.
Well, he basically warns Roddy McDowell's character about that. And then he meets these people. And my first thought, when my natural instinct, when you see a giant crowd of like almost Aryan looking people in sheets and robes, my first thought is like, what do they want? Like I didn't grow up in a world where that was what you were hoping to find. And so I would immediately be very nervous. I'd be like, why do you people live on Mars and look like Socrates? I'm very uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable. And then of course they speak English, but they don't, which was a big twist.
Right. How would you feel if you open the door, you found all the people in the white robes, and the first thing is like, have you found Jesus yet?
I'd be like, shit, those people were right. Oh man. Great. Now I gotta go apologize to all the Mormons. You know. Have you heard the teachings of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Welcome to Mars, by the way.
Yeah, they could be fun. No, I think we'd find more like the Thetan fellas out there.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm gonna pass on my trip to Mars now.
Well, okay.
But
what movie made Mars look like a fantastic place to go? Oh, Total Recall. Okay, other than Total Recall, made Mars look like a fantastic place to go.
I mean, Total Recall sells it pretty hard though.
Yeah.
It's like really, they were like really amping up for that Mars tourism bid, you know. Yeah, Mars, yeah, usually movies don't really suggest Mars is going to be great. They usually suggest that it's either going to be a vast unknown or like just straight up evil. Like
Yeah.
like straight
John
up
Carter has
deadly
a
and
hell of a
bad.
time.
Yes, he does. And I was the first thought that came to my mind, oddly enough, was Ghosts of Mars.
Oh no, we
I
don't
was
want
like,
to go to that Mars.
well, I'm just saying, yeah, they not only do they not sell Mars as a positive place, it's like a nasty desert with, you know, the only safe way to really travel is on trains. And then, in case you didn't hate it enough, also the planet's haunted. So
Of course it is.
well, I mean, I know a lot of people give that movie a lot of guff, and it's a cheesy, dumb movie. But the concept of Mars being haunted is pretty brilliant, you know, because the idea is all of the natives were killed for some reason. You know, they all died for some reason, tectonic shifts or weather changes or solar flare or something killed all of them. So why wouldn't they just haunt the whole damn place?
I've had people on podcasts saying thermonuclear detonations 10,000 years ago in the Martian atmosphere. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds cool.
I'm in. Sounds dope.
There's a few actual scientists putting forth that theory. They're saying there's an isotope in the Martian atmosphere that can only be created through a nuclear explosion. So,
well, I mean,
I'm not going to check.
And think about,
I can't check that science, but but it's interesting to think about for sure.
Oh, definitely.
No, they are somewhat liars. They say, do they fix his ship? Maybe they're not liars. Maybe they did fix his ship. They just don't.
I mean, I would assume they fix his ship to, you know, display it,
invade Earth.
Oh, it could be, or just to understand us for the inevitable invasion. I mean, they are liars, but they're the classic Twilight Zone liars. They're like so overly friendly and so extremely accommodating that you just know any time now there's going to be some kind of massive twist. Like, I mean, that's just what you come to expect from the Twilight Zone. And yeah, so when they show him like this house they built him based on his mind, they're like, you know, this is your home. They're telling the truth, basically.
Yeah, they're not quite lying. That's true.
Yeah, you know, they're withholding the term like prison or cage, but a cage is a home, I suppose.
Yeah. I wonder if the TV. I can't imagine that TV set's going to pick up anything. I don't know. I guess that you can still get. You watch TV from like 5 hours before, maybe. I guess.
Yeah, or a day or something, depending on the sun. But and that was the first thing I wondered too when he was like, "There's even a television." I was like, "Turn it on." Like, I want to know what happens.
Only shows slasher films.
It just shows the same 3 episodes of Lawrence Welk, and that's it.
Oh God!
I know that's the evil twist.
Yeah, that I was about to say that's a serious Twilight Zone twist.
That's a little too brutal for television.
Yeah. I'm thinking, of course, The Cage is the obvious one with the same actress, even. But some other iterations that come to mind, I guess, would be the Orville. If you've seen that show, they have one of these episodes where they're plopped into their old apartment. Turns out to be sort of the same situation.
Okay,
that's kind of fun.
I've been meaning to watch the Orville now that it's all on Hulu, so I should get around to that sometime. I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, it takes a few episodes to really get rolling, but I mean that's as much as for any show, really. Not too many shows just kick it from the start. Oh, the other one that really comes to mind, because it's same vintage. Well, it's a few years later, but and I just reread Slaughterhouse 5. I don't know if you've read or watched that.
I read that back when I was a teenager.
Yeah, yeah. I just I realized I think it's this year's 100 would be Kurt Vonnegut's 100th birthday. So they're like, oh, we gotta do the film Slaughterhouse-Five sometime this year. And it's like, well, I should probably reread the book, and then ended up rereading like 5 of his books. So that's how those work.
Sounds pretty all right.
But yeah, that has, what is it? The multi-dimensional space dome that he lives in with a busty star actress or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah. So
anything else wouldn't make sense.
right. So he seems a little happier in his cage. But yeah, in science fiction, you can't have the people happy in their cage. So Conrad's not happy, Pike's certainly not happy, or Orville Crew's not happy. Crews aren't happy. Could a regular person be okay being thrown into this sort of a cage?
I think the only way it's entertaining to show somebody being happy in a cage is if it's just one of them and everybody else is like, what is wrong with you? And they're like, oh, that's pretty good. And then if it was Twilight Zone, it would turn out that being in the cage was the best idea. Like that was the good thing.
That was just, I guess, well, of course, Vonnegut was kind of a satirist, but the fact he's like, I'm in my cage is fine. I mean, he's time jumping anyway, so he gets out of his cage and comes back just temporally. I mean, it's got to be better than being in the firebombing of Dresden, right? So,
yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
So, okay, nice padded cage, put up against firebombing. I guess we can see why he's happy there.
Yeah, I could get that. I actually was not meant to be a plug for my podcast, but I literally, this week's story that I read on Weekly Spooky is about a guy who, it was an original story written by one of our writers about a guy who's in a mental asylum and he never speaks. All he does is draw heinous murders. And the reason he got committed was he drew heinous murders and they thought he was a suspect. So they considered it a confession because he wouldn't speak. And this was in the 40s or 50s. And it turns out he's psychically, spoiler alert, but there are 135 other episodes you can listen to. But because it just made me think of what you said. Psychically, it turns out he's just able to see through the killer's eyes when they take a victim. And his way of drawing is like the only way to try to communicate what's happening. And there's a moment when the main character is like, but if he's not guilty, why doesn't he try to get free? And then it dawns on her. She's like, because he knows what's in the outside world. And he wants to stay in the cage. And I was like, I mean, I'm the producer of the show and I'm reading. I'm like, I've got chills now. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm thinking feel weird about existence.
It's almost like Minority Report, but less useful.
Yes, it is. That's absolutely accurate.
Hey folks, it's happening right now.
Astute. Well, so, but no, that just made me think of that because the idea of being better off in your cage. Ugh.
Well, okay. I think I mentioned before, in Japan, we never quite locked down. So, I think half of the world did this a couple of years ago. Shanghai, they're busy doing it now. So, since I have this weird situation where I never had to do that. So I'm curious if you had any parallels on your mind there.
I don't know. Because I live in Ohio, and Ohio was a relatively aggressive lockdown state early on. And then once the data started coming out, our governor got like way less into it. So I don't know. When I look back at that time of my life, I'm like, I should have just left the house. Honestly, I'm so anti-cage. I wish that the first thing I did when the pandemic really started hitting is I just booked a flight to Mexico to go stay at one of those empty resorts for like $81 a night. That's what I wish I had done. But instead I tried my best to put on my best Stockholm syndrome, and it didn't work very well. Not well at all. I don't fit in most of my favorite pants thanks to that level of Stockholm syndrome. So
no, just for me, I like can't stay in the house. Like even on days off, like my thing Sunday morning is usually get up, have breakfast, do the dishes. Now I'm going to take a walk for like 40 minutes, come back in, do something, have lunch, take another walk, and these are like big, like well, like 2 or 3 kilometer walk, so like a couple miles, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not that was the worst part, is it kind of turned me into more of a homebody. I still have to nudge myself to be like, no, leave and go do something. Like, just go to the store again. You need a couple things, and maybe you should leave the goddamn house. I'm still retraining myself for that stuff.
Now you're mentioning spoilers. Rod spoiled my podcast this week, didn't he? My first question is, who exactly in this episode went into the Twilight Zone? And the last line of the episode is, Samuel Conrad has found the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
should I even ask the question? Who went into the Twilight Zone this episode? Well, okay, we know Conrad did. Rod told us.
Yeah, this one Rod made it easy.
How about Marcuson?
Marcuson?
The other astronaut.
Yeah. I don't know if he made it to the Twilight Zone. I feel like he was the Oregon trailsman who got dysentery and died. He didn't make it.
He got dysentery.
He found himself Twilight Zone adjacent.
Yeah, we do get people that are Twilight Zone adjacent. So Markuson's dead. We'll leave him under the. I wonder if they buried him in the Martian soil. They couldn't have left him in the rocket.
They said they were going to bury him.
Okay, so,
and since their lies were always thinly veiled, I think they were telling the truth.
Yeah. Okay, so
because if they had said we'll take care of him, I'd be like, they're eating him or making him into art or something. But since they said we'll bury him for you, I was like, all right, they're probably gonna bury him.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll think about Conrad here then. Did he deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone?
That was probably the thing about the episode that kind of shook me a little bit, was I didn't feel like he deserved that at all. He was just a scientist who was like, in the opening, was like super honest about his emotions too. He was, because the pilot guy's like, I'm not afraid, and he's like, I am. But maybe he got what he deserved for being willing to fly to Mars with only one other person. I don't know. I mean, because it still blows my mind. It's like, we'll send them in 2-person teams to Mars. Why not? It's not even enough people to dig a latrine.
Yeah, I mean, again, Kirk would have Spock in the room with him at least.
Yeah, at the least. So
they'd figure
Spock's
the way out.
The 3 men. Spock counts as 3 dudes, 3 regular dudes. Now, okay. And so I don't think he deserved his Twilight Zone thing, because it's not like he had no, and I mean, maybe I missed it, but I didn't get any sense that he was like a cruel person or that he was getting any kind of comeuppance, other than, I guess, maybe he was getting his comeuppance for thinking that people are good. That would be the only punishment he got.
Yeah, we did the Purple Testament, where it's the guy that can see death on people's faces and finally sees it on his own face, right? And we're like, we didn't deserve it. And we're like, well, did he? I mean, what did he do yesterday in the war?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
I mean, and even being World War II, because you make it Vietnam, and clearly you got that. What did he do yesterday? But hey, you're in a war, you're doing stuff, right? So, but this guy, like you say, he's a scientist, and he's not doing nothing to nobody.
And he's Roddy McDowell. I just find him so likable.
Maybe this is the karmatic comeuppance for him to later jail Charlton Heston for a while. So I was in a cage, now you are.
Damn.
They finally made a monkey out of me.
Yes, they finally made a monkey.
Right, exactly.
I had to explain that Simpsons joke to someone in detail just the other day, and boy, did I.
No, I just did an episode of this, which airs after this, before. So I do these out of order, right? People have already heard it, where one of our guests had just been to a Planet of the Apes screening with the actor who played Dr. Zaius giving it, so it was hard to. I was like, "Don't sing the song,
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius,
you don't,
Dr. Zaius."
You don't have that that firewall. It just comes right out. Okay. No, here's the reason I can't do the song. I'd have to start doing the verses, and I can't remember the verses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what's wrong with me? We think you're crazy. Want a second opinion? You're all so lazy.
Yes. There, you got a verse. So that
was one of them. Yeah.
One's better than I've got. Okay. We will place this on the tripometer then. 0 is not trippy at all. 5 is very trippy as usual. It's nothing about quality. It's just how trippy it is.
For me, I got to give this one like, I don't think it was that trippy. Everything, I mean, it was scarier than it was trippy because everything's pretty believable. Like the people look like people, you know, the costumes are a little cheesy, but I buy it. I've seen cages. I believe that it was a real cage. So like, I would call it like, I'd have to go hard, like maybe a 1.5 or a 2 on the trippy meter.
Yeah, I was thinking about 2.5 because of space, but this is I go on a lot about how the Twilight Zone absolutely should be in black and white, which 99% of the time is probably correct. This one, I was kind of wondering if this was in like, 60s ridiculous color, would that like, so it looked more like Lost in Space or Star Trek, would that make it better or trippier?
Maybe. I think that it wasn't super trippy just simply because it was a very like pared down simple depiction of like they fly to Mars, they crash.
Yeah.
They didn't do a lot of big effects moments because, well, frankly, they probably, did that episode to save some money. I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase bottle episode. I mean, you can't really do what?
Cage episode.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, of course, I know bottle episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. So for those who aren't uninitiated, the bottle episode theory comes from what they used to say on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and maybe the original series as well, which was that any episode that didn't have a new character or a new location, that it just took place on the ship with just those characters, those episodes were done to offset budget so that they could use it on other episodes to do like a big fight or a big space fight or big effects thing. And although it's not exactly the same on an anthology, I mean, I feel like when I watch old Twilight Zone back to back to back, you can tell which ones save them money and which ones cost them money pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm thinking where the color would help her, because most episodes have that one like effect. This one just being like, oh, the wall rises and it's a cage, which is like whatever. I can figure out how they did that one pretty easily.
Yeah. But I found it more disturbing because of that. Because I do like when things are kind of muted and simple. I find that to be scarier because I find that to be more like what happens to you in real life.
Yeah.
So in that way, I was a little mortified by like the simplicity of like, oh, they just pull the walls back and yeah, it's a cage. It's a cage.
Yeah, you said white robes though. I'm like, if they had like pink and purple and green robes and the sky had kind of a purple tint, this is one where I maybe someone. I don't think we should colorize things, but I'd be curious to see someone try it on this one.
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I can see what you mean. It would have given it that little bit of a trippy factor. I could dig that.
And this is the first episode of the Twilight Zone that even occurred to me.
Really?
Like, every other one, like, yeah, black and white for sure. So this first one, like, I'd actually be curious to see this one in color. But okay. Got any final thoughts on this? Or you're gonna stew in your existential dread?
I think this is a great one to revisit because it's meat and potatoes Twilight Zone. It is, two great actors, a not so great set, and then
Forbidden Planet stuff.
and then an extraordinary circumstance with a dark twist at the end. I can't say it's like a highly memorable episode, except in that it is so nuts and bolts exactly what you want when you watch the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, because
Roddy McDowell.
Even the house, it's like, I'm sure that was used for like 8 sitcoms, and even on Twilight Zone, I'm pretty sure they used that in a Third from the Sun not so long ago. So,
oh yeah, you just redress it, and well, you probably don't even have to repaint it since it's black and white. But when I know in color films, they just repaint sets again and again and again until the walls are literally like have a quarter of an inch of paint on them. They'll just paint them again and again and again and again.
I think I might have mentioned this in an episode, but it's probably been a while. On the Blu-rays, it often follows with like a quick network promo. Sometimes it's like Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen. That kind of makes sense after the Twilight Zone. But some of the everyone's like, here's and it's like it's some sitcom I don't even remember. It's like, here's America's favorite dad, and it's like clearly like it looks like the set you've just seen on this show. And it's like carving the turkey, and this is like, yeah, there's some kind of dissonance going on here.
Yeah, I would say so.
So it's kind of fun though. Well, that's right after Rod tries to get you to smoke. So
Well, yeah.
Rod tries to
Go
get you
on.
to smoke, and then you see America's favorite dad. It's a weird way to end a kind of a disturbing episode.
Now it's time to go to flavor country.
Flavor country, of course, being the grave. Flavor for the maggots.
Oh God, that's the twist. The twist is the guy who gave you your first cigarette is just a maggot. You just didn't notice for some reason.
Maggots are falling like rain. So I was trying to get a good Garth Marenghi maggots out, but I couldn't muster it. Maggots? Maggots. Do you have any maggots in your movies or stories?
Not generally.
No.
One time we were supposed to use mealworms, but the place we were going to get them from was out when we went to pick them up.
Sorry, we're all out of maggots.
We don't got no more mealworms right now. They'll have some more in 3-4 days. I don't know why they sound like that. They're just like a modern pet store. I don't know. Well, yeah, dang old man,
Because
Ohio.
I used to be a Boy Scout when you go into like the backwoods of North Carolina and Georgia and all that. And no, you'd find like the fishing stores, which did, just selling bizarre bait with guys with Deliverance accents. We saw a guy playing a banjo out on the front porch once. We were like, this can't be a good
buy
sign.
that level of authenticity. That's too good.
Yeah, really. Anyway, your work. Yes, plug.
Oh, well, I actually just recently a television program that I directed and produced called Boggy Creek the Series just hit Tubi in the US of A. So if you're in the United States or you have a VPN, you can watch all 6 episodes of my Bigfoot television series totally for free with commercials. And it features Eric Roberts and Brink Stevens. And I'm very proud of the work we did. So if you get a chance, go to tubitv.com, punch in Boggy Creek the series, and check it out. And if you're really curious about my work, you can just find my name in the show notes, because you're not going to spell it right on your own. Copy it, paste it into Tubi. You'll find like every movie I've been involved with that's on Tubi. Most of them are there and free to watch. And if you need a little bit of spooky in your weekly, you can check out Weekly Spooky, my podcast, where every single week there's a brand new horror story, kind of like Tales from the Crypt, except an audiobook. So that's what I got going on currently, my friend.
Rocking on. This is Time Enough Podcast. It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook. It's in the podcasting umbrella of Podcastio Podcastius on Patreon, where we also talk about sci-fi films at Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary, weird films at Oral Hygiene, and there's some things for the gamers with Luke Loves Pokemon. The Monster Hunter podcast, Monster Mash, should be coming back soon. And in the meantime, you can hear the Game Show, which is a game show about games.
Ah.
Okay. I think I got everything out there.
Excellent. Well done.
Okay. Check for any walls rising in your general direction, I guess, then.
I still got windows.
Yeah. Any peanuts flying in?
I mean, frankly, I would be into that, but
what? Okay. Before we completely cut off, if you are the zoo animal, because this was a barred cage, right? Not an energy field. They can toss in food. What food are they throwing to Henrique?
Oh, well, if they throw it to me, they're going to be cheeseburgers, like maybe sliders, just throwing them right there, right through the bars.
Okay, I'm going to get these tortilla wrap things they have at the 7-Eleven. That's for me.
Ooh,
yeah,
that sounds
they
good.
started selling the taco ones again. I mean, it's not authentic at all, but
wait, what? Not authentic in Japan at a mini mart?
Man, when we went Mexican, we have to buy like an El Paso taco mix.
I never thought about that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. There is like there's some decent places in Tokyo, and there was one or two in Nagano, but one of them hasn't seemed to be open for a while, so I guess they're closed. And the other one's now a place that's called Sunday Beef, which is kind of
Ooh.
exciting.
I mean, it sounds exciting.
It sounds wildly dirty.
Well, yeah.
By the way, I was gonna I already decided to cut it after you were laughing about the taco mix, so
It's all good.
just to let you know.
Well,
I'll send you notes and things when we get to it. This one has a May 23rd release, so it's not the longest wait. But yeah,
cool.
it is easy to get ahead of these. So
Oh yeah, no, it's good to get them in the bank. I got into a terrible habit with Weekly Spooky where I just record it the day before it releases, and there are a lot of days I really wish I had just done like 2 or 3 ahead of time.
yeah,
Oh
this one
yeah, I
I
tell you.
because this one I got I think I've already got it like scheduled like a month in advance. The oral hygiene one's a month in advance. It's a sci-fi sanctuary. I'm always like rushing.
Yeah, sure.
But last week we did upgrade and we recorded it like 4 days before I posted it. So that makes sense. Have you seen Upgrade?
Oh yeah, I loved
Okay.
Upgrade.
Yeah. That was
That movie was awesome.
so definitely into that. So what else? What's this week? Oh yeah. I got this weird urge to return to Bubba Hotep, so that's coming up soon.
Oh, that's a great one.
Well, the thing is, I saw it in the theater like when it came out, and I think I was fully like just expecting to see Ash, right? Which is not at all what you get. So I didn't like I. It's like I could tell it's a good movie, but I didn't like it. So I'm like, I want to revisit it now because I can watch it without that bias. So that's sort of my goal there. And the original Tron. What do we got coming up? Snakes on a Plane with a Pilot as the guest. That should be fun. Which I've never seen because I really, yeah, I'm like Indiana Jones level on hating snakes. So I'll be like cowering at my computer sometime in the next few days. Like, oh God. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna blast off to work then. So thank you
All
as
right, man.
always for coming in and
Happy to do
chatting
it.
about it. Keep it groovy. Oh, I'm still recording.